Hello, friends, and welcome again to worship with us at First Christian Church Wauseon as we continue to read through the Gospel according to Luke. Here in October of 2022, we have reached the 11th chapter, and today we read from verses 29 to 54. The title of the message today is "The Inside is What Matters." From the Message. As the crowd swelled, Jesus took a fresh tack. "The mood of this age is all wrong," he said. "Everybody's looking for proof, but you're looking for the wrong kind. All you're looking for is something to titillate your curiosity." How's that for a word? "Satisfy your lust for miracles. But the only proof you're going to get is the Jonah proof given to the Ninevites, which looked like no proof at all. What Jonah was to Nineveh, the Son of Man is to this age." That is, the one who comes to warn of the spiritual danger that the people are in. Jesus continues, "On Judgment Day, the Ninevites will stand up and give evidence that will condemn this generation, because when Jonah preached to them, they changed their lives. A far greater preacher than Jonah is here, and you squabble about proofs. On Judgment Day, the Queen of Sheba will come forward and bring evidence that condemns this generation because she traveled from a far corner of the earth to listen to wise Solomon. Wisdom far greater than Solomon's is right in front of you, and you quibble over evidence. No one lights a lamp, then hides it in a drawer. It's put on a lampstand so those entering the room have light to see where they're going. Your eye is a lamp, lighting up your whole body. If you live wide-eyed in wonder and belief, your body fills up with light. But if you live squinty-eyed in greed and distrust, your body is a musty cellar. Keep your eyes open, your lamp burning, so you don't get musty and murky. Keep your life as well lighted as your best lighted room." Now, when Jesus finished that talk, a Pharisee asked him to dinner. And Jesus entered his house and sat right down at the table. The Pharisee was shocked and somewhat offended when he saw that Jesus didn't wash up before the meal. But the master said to him, "I know you Pharisees buff the surface of your cups and plates so they sparkle in the sun. But I also know your insides are maggoty with greed and secret evil. Stupid Pharisees. Didn't the one who made the outside also make the inside? Turn both your pockets and your hearts inside out and give generously to the poor. Then your lives will be clean, not just your dishes and your hands." "I've had it with you," Jesus says. "You're hopeless, you Pharisees, frauds. You keep meticulous account books, tithing on every nickel and dime you get, but manage to find loopholes for getting around basic matters of justice and God's love. Careful bookkeeping is commendable, but the basics are required. You're hopeless, you Pharisees, frauds. You love sitting at the head table at church dinners. You love preening yourselves in the radiance of public flattery. Frauds, you're just like unmarked graves. People walk over that nice grassy surface, never suspecting the rot and corruption that is 6 feet under." Now one of the religion scholars spoke up. "Teacher, do you realize that in saying these things you're insulting us?" And Jesus said, "Yes." There's a challenge. "Yes, and I can be even more explicit. You're hopeless, you religion scholars. You load people down with rules and regulations, nearly breaking their backs, but never lift even a finger to help. You're hopeless. You build tombs for the prophets your ancestors killed. The tombs you build are monuments to your murdering ancestors more than to the murdered prophets. That accounts for God's wisdom, saying, 'I will send them prophets and apostles, but they'll kill them and run them off.' What it means is that every drop of righteous blood ever spilled from the time earth began until now, from the blood of Abel to the blood of Zechariah, who was struck down between altar and sanctuary, is on your heads. Yes, it's on the bill of this generation, and this generation will pay. You're hopeless, you religion scholars. You took the key of knowledge, but instead of unlocking doors, you locked them. You won't go in yourself, and you won't let anyone else in either. And as soon as Jesus left the table, the religion scholars and Pharisees went into a rage. They went over and over everything he said, plotting how they could trap him in something from his own mouth. What a confrontation. What a judgment. What a come to Jesus moment it is, where Jesus speaks so very clearly that what the image that we portray to the world is not what God pays attention to, but what is the condition on the inside of our hearts? Are we responding to the truth that the prophets speak to us, particularly the message of Jesus as we read it in the Gospels? And ultimately, is it true of our life what Paul commends us to in Romans 12, that we not be conformed to the thinking of this world, but that we be transformed by the renewal of our minds? And in this case, the transformation of our hearts. What happens in our life when we hear the truth from Jesus? Do we like to look good? Do we like to have all of the T's crossed and the I's dotted and everything done appropriately and correctly, to look clean and presentable, to be of good reputation, to always have the goodwill of all of the people? It's not that those things are necessarily bad in themselves, but if they substitute for that heart-level connection to God and the character that lives inside of us, that shows God at work in us and around us and through us, ultimately, what we are is fraud. We are frauds. But as the truth of God transforms our hearts and changes our lives and transforms us from the inside out, that is where we truly show ourselves to be followers of Jesus. I say this not so much to offer condemnation and judgment for people who are struggling. God knows that I struggle. I am struggling. And yet the message is for us to seek that inner heart level transformation and to always be after growing deep and strong, and to have in our life's testimony, the witness of who we are, that sense of welcome and service, of love and of self-giving. Not to look good and to work to keep other people out so that we seem to be special and important, but to be welcoming servants who love and give and point the way. That is Jesus' call for us. So we consider. Maybe we sing within us through the course of the rest of this day. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. But even while your light shines, remember, outward religiosity without inward change is worthless. And notice at the end, even at the conclusion of Jesus daring to confront the religion scholars and the Pharisees with their hypocrisy, how enraged they become. And let us consider also their anger proves Jesus' point. How will you and I respond? Go in peace. Amen.